if you're pouring from a cup that is always half empty,
Yeah.
how are you the best version of yourself to anybody else?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unschooling Lifestyle. Thank you for being here. And you're about to listen to an interview that I recorded a few months back. This interview is with Coach Michael Hicks. He is the founder of the Live to Thrive community and the host of the podcast Framing New Heights. On his podcast, we talked about our unschooling journey and what we went through and how we got through some of the things. But one of the things that I wanted to speak with him about was relationships. And the reason why that is because one of the hurdles that my husband and I got through was when we were not on the same page about unschooling or homeschooling. And I see that question a lot when moms ask, I want to homeschool, but my husband doesn't want to. Or I am homeschooling, but I don't get any support from my husband. I am here to tell you that it was hard on a relationship. And it was something that we worked through it thanks to human design. It kind of was an opening into a much deeper conversation. But today, September 22nd, it's our 16th wedding anniversary. So it really had a lot of meaning for us to go deeper into how we wanted to live our life. But I also wanted to share that it hasn't always been easy. So the conversation with Michael kind of centers around how couples can come back together when things are a little bit rough. Like, how can we do that? And really, it's all about personal responsibility and how we can be better listeners, but also take action. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. Michael's links are in the show notes. And like I said, this conversation was recorded a few months back, but for some reason, it's just making its way out into the world. And I can tell you that there's no perfect timing per se, but this kind of feels like perfect timing for this conversation to be out there. So I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you once again. Please remember that your time is precious. I hope you're making it count. And without further ado, here is Coach Michael Hicks. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Unschooling Lifestyle. Today, I am so excited. I have Michael Hicks, and he is the host of the podcast Framing New Heights. We are going to speak about relationships. Michael, tell us a little bit about you and how you got to this part of your life, because I know you were a teacher prior to being a coach, right?
Yeah. And first and foremost, thank you, Julieta, for having me. I'm really honored to be here. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Michael Hicks. I am the founder of Live to Thrive. What that is, it's a purpose-centered life coaching agency.
Yes.
Where I help people thrive from the inside out. Everybody wants transformation. I give you the whole package because it's got to start from inside, from your mindset to discovering your purpose, and obviously the physical component as well. I'm also, like you just alluded to, Julieta, is I'm the host of Framing New Heights. It's a podcast in which, and I just had you on.
Yes.
Thank you again for being on. Hence, I'm here.
Yes, thank you.
It's a Yeah, you're welcome. It's a podcast where we explore the mindset shifts and we talk about emotional healing, practical strategies, and how it takes us to live a life that's not just successful. However, it's deeply fulfilling. And I really do my very best to bring people of value like yourself onto the show. And I've got some good reviews from that. So going backwards, so that's just me currently. Gosh. So yes, I went to school. I got an undergrad in education. Then I got my master's in administration. Did some education for quite some time, moved into the administration piece, did some coaching along that aspect. That got me into the professional sector of coaching women basketball and also the general manager. I'm a father to my beautiful daughter, Noah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I get the luxury now to help people, all walks of life, from individuals that are in relationships. And we're all in relationships, and I'm excited to talk about this today, Julieta, because our jobs or wherever we're at, our 9-to-5s, our neighbors, your relationship, you're in relationships wherever you go, the grocery store, it doesn't matter. The foundation of who we are is our relationships and fostering them and doing great things with them. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're all in relationships. And I really love that because for those of you that have listened to our story before, we started homeschooling, but it took a while for my husband and I to be on the same page. I was caught up in other aspects of homeschooling. I knew our relationship, we were on the same page, but I didn't know how to put us back on the same page,
Right.
And I'm just wondering if you can shed some light how to come together to either share your perspective or and be okay with that some other person saying, you know what, that's not the same value that I share. Maybe let's work something else.
Yeah, that's a really loaded and deep question.
Yes.
I think from my experience through in every aspect and walk of life, quality boundaries have to be established. And that can even be done in a workforce.
Yes.
Knowing what is, in fact, I immediately think of two clients that are a married couple that I have, and the husband works, he's got an IT job where he's constantly nonstop. And that can really, and I brought the wife on and been working with her and helping her with some strategies, but I had to bring him on as well because you have to really, yes, you need a paycheck. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, who's going to be there? Who's going to be there for you? I would start with the boundary piece, but I also believe this, Julieta. I believe relationships are, in a sense, spiritual assignments.
Mm-hmm.
Here's kind of what I mean. They reveal where we've grown, right? They always say, show me the people you hang out, you're the average of those five, right?
Yes. I've heard
So,
that.
yeah. So they reveal where you've grown and where you still need healing. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah. And then I was thinking about this too, and one of my biggest aha moments when you're discussing this is such a broad term. So I'm doing my very best to kind of narrow
Mm-hmm.
it down a little bit. But one of my biggest aha moments was realizing that disconnection often doesn't come from a lack of love, everyone. However, it comes from a lack of emotional safety.
Yes, it goes back to how we feel safe. Yes.
Big thing. So important. And then people stop sharing, not because they don't care, however, because they don't really feel seen or safe.
Yes.
And so the real work becomes is the question I think you got to then ask is how do we create an environment where truth can exist without shame? And that can be, let's just take it from a relationship in a household, mom and dad, or just two significant others, however you want to term it, is if there's a problem in the household and you're attacking the other person, the mindset shift should be, how can I get my significant other to win? What can I do to win? Because what really is the issue is the problem. It's not necessarily anything else. It's not the person that caught you or whatever, fill in the blank. It's the fact of being aware of where and what the problem is, and then having the tool mindset. That's the big shift. A lot of couples out there, and they struggle with this. In fact, I was just talking to two clients that I had on recently, and they were in a parking lot. The husband was going 20 miles an hour, and she's like, slow down. He got all pissy. Can I say that on the show?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, he got all pissy and upset because he doesn't have the right framework.
Mm-hmm.
He's allowing the non-controllables to control his situation, and then took it out on his wife at the time, and then got frustrated and didn't even want to go inside. Later on, he came back around and he apologized. But those are the things that I'm kind of talking about is you need to be able to create an environment, whether it's your work environment, whether it's your household environment, whether it's your significant other, whether it's on your health, whatever environment is, but where does the truth exist without shame?
Yes.
Like, that's where it goes. Yeah. This common thing happens often.
Yes.
And we're allowing external factors to control what we have no control over. And I teach in my practice as well a biblical approach. And I always look at it like this. Instead of, if we're going to use this reference of cars, instead of getting cut off, we often get cut off on the highway or whatever, and we like to use this bird friendly, this translation, right, with the other person, or we're screaming and yelling and holding on to the steering wheel. Instead of think the perspective for a second of like, maybe that person needed that spot more than you do. Maybe God's looking out for you so that you can be 30 seconds late because of some situation that's going to happen ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think everything happens for a particular reason.
Yes.
Especially if you're in alignment with your spiritual walk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that is so true though. Can you share a little bit about how you got into coaching, and did you start it initially with like relationships and couples?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. So, full transparency, when you're working in the education system, there's like a ceiling, right?
Mm.
You can't go past that ceiling. I felt that there was a purpose that I was not fulfilling in my life. I prayed often about it. I talked to my creator about it. I talked to friends. I just felt unappreciated. I felt just overworked. I felt of no value. And I kept searching and asking. And one day I hired a coach. I hired a very expensive coach that taught me how to build my framework, how to build my business. And for those of you that are listening, if you have a story, this can be you too. My whole Live to Thrive, the letters each have a letter acronym that fits into my framework of my brand.
Ooh, can you share a little bit about that?
Oh, goodness. I'll give you the first two. The first one is leveraging your life's legacy. Do you want at the end of your life, when it's time and you're at the pearly gates, do you want your creator to say, okay, you got two choices. I can show you the woulda, coulda real, or you're real. You should live a life, Julieta, that you don't need to see that woulda, coulda, shoulda real.
Yes.
Because you lived your life to your fullest potential.
It took a while, actually, for me to realize that the journey, the middle of the journey, is just as equally important because it is helping me to get there. But
For sure.
Similar to you, one of my decision-making processes is that if something comes my way, and if at the end of the time, like you say, once I get to the gates, if I get there and I'm like, I wish I would have done X, Y, or Z, I go ahead and for it. And look, I have goosebumps all over it because once I see that, and I'm like, if I'm going to regret not going on to see this person or not spending time in doing something that I love, I know that that's a sign for me that that's where I need to go, because everything else at that point does not matter.
I love what you said there. And it brought me to a thought here about the relationship piece, which I think is critical. I teach a lot of my clients mirror work. Are you familiar with mirror work?
I think I have heard the term, but please feel free to elaborate.
Yeah. So using I am statements to build who you are, how your day is going to go. Those are just some of the basic foundations. But then on top of that, and it's really powerful to develop self-worth for those of you that are catching this podcast and they're like, self-worth, I don't know what it is. I'll tell you, going off a little bit. I'm still going to come back. Yeah, I'm going to come back to my original point here. But the two biggest things for you to have any good quality relationship, you need to have and understand what you're worth. You have to also understand what love is. If you don't know these two, you're like putting the cart before the horse. You're not going to get anywhere.
Yes.
And the other piece to that too, Juliet, as I'm bringing it back around, is the mirror work, but also forgiveness, right? Because we're all imperfect.
Yes.
So you got to have grace. You got to give that emotional vocabulary. How are you talking to your kids when you're upset? Mm-hmm. Are you screaming at them? Are you yelling at them? And do you, and I say this, and I hope this resonates with our listeners, is do you want to be yelled at your job?
Oh my gosh.
Why are you yelling at your kids? The other piece that I wanted to mention, we talked about forgiveness, emotional vocabulary. Mm-hmm. It goes back to the body awareness, right? Like, how many people nowadays, Julieta, are not aware of their surroundings? And, and here's the thing, you've got to really, with the relationship piece, is you got to connect. If we're just talking about significant others here, you got to connect with your significant other a minimum of 90 minutes a week. That's what the science and the data is showing us, that we're connected 90 minutes a week. And the reason why I can so much talk about this and help brand people and their relationships is, Juliet, I failed miserably so many times.
So I really love this piece because a lot of the people that we see on social media, it's about perfection. And it's about people telling others what to do without having ever been through that themselves. And often, and again, I get visceral reactions when I talk about this because the experience of someone going through this will resonate with so many people in a different way.
For those listeners out there, I don't want to give too much, but there was a moment in my life I contemplated even living here.
Yes, I was watching some of your content on your website, and the video in the homepage talks about that. So that was pretty powerful.
Thank you. And not only that, but then when you throw that in, and then you talk about, and that if any of our listeners want to hear that, you can just go. I think I put two of them out there. I don't know which number it is. I just dropped the 40th episode, 2 years of doing the podcast.
Awesome.
It's called My Story. For if your listeners, if you want to check it out, please go to check out Framing New Heights and you want to learn more about who I am as a person. But I want to also go back to the relationship piece. I failed as a husband. I realized then I rebounded and moved too quickly to get with another woman who I didn't realize that I didn't work enough on myself. So then there were failures and problems in that relationship. So I jumped and I jumped and I jumped. And what I did realize and this is just free advice that I'm giving to you. A lot of individuals, when we're talking about relationships, they go after they're wounded, beat up, abused, narcissistic, whatever terms you want to use, insert them. And then they go a month. I'm going to start dating. So you start attracting the same thing because you have done no work on yourself.
Yes.
You have done no mental work for yourself. You have now built your self-worth because let's be honest, you're half the problem as well. And you're attracting the people that you still want because you don't know what you want.
Yes. And this is why I love going back to the root. I mean, it is going back to different, experiences, childhood, but re-shifting how you see yourself and what is it that you want out of life. And once you get to establish those premises, your values, once you really set your values, then you get to attract the people and the experiences that are aligned with your values. But without knowing, you're just spinning the wheel. You're just spinning the wheel constantly. So when people come to you for relationships, do they come true like towards the end as in we don't know what else to do? Or how do people find you?
I'll give you one scenario. So I don't want to give the client's name out, but I worked with a woman and I worked with her extensively. So I have different variations in programs. What I do is you tell me, I give you a form to fill out. You tell me exactly where your issues you're having difficulty with. And you got to be honestly, the more vulnerable, and I talk about this, Julieta, men need to learn how to be vulnerable. Men need to be able to express their emotions in a healthy way, not sit home as soon as they get home, open up a can of beer and shut the world out and put their feet up and not yell and tell people what to do or put their hands in something. Like that's like such an old school mentality. So going back to the original question is, I think of the client that I have is she worked with me. She came to me and her issue was, Michael, I am separated. At that time, she was separated for, I think, 4 or 5 months. As she was separated, she was talking to me. I understood what her issue was. I'll get to the final end result. It's a beautiful result, which I'm about to share with you guys. But what I did is I worked and helped her build her up to where she needed to be. A lot of people in relationships don't even the first thing you should be talking about is what is the love language of your significant other?
Oh yeah.
And most men, Julieta, operate on what they want.
Yeah.
And then they give that to the woman.
Yes.
And the woman's like, yeah, that's nice, but that's not really my love language, So going back to the story, so I build her up with some self-worth techniques. We talked understanding what love is, what her ideal husband was. So we did this entire work. Now, it has to come from inner. It's inner. Then what we do is we elaborate on that into vocal words.
Yeah.
Because our subconscious has a lot to do with who we become and what we are. If you're constantly identifying with anything I am to, that's who you are. Oh, I'm so clumsy. Oh, I'm so stupid because I took that turn. You're destroying yourself. You would never say that to your kid. Why are you saying it to yourself?
Yes.
So as I'm building her up and I'm giving her techniques and strategies, and her husband at the time, well, separated, was very, very, how can I say it? I could tell something was going on where he was at. Later on, I found out that he was at a controlling parent's house, controlling him, dictating, telling him what to do and how to do it. And I gave her the tools to get her husband. I almost want to keep saying the name. I got to be careful because I'm thinking about this exactly.
Yes,
talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I gave her the tools to have a conversation with her husband. They came up with, she talked to me. They came up with a plan, got him out of that position. They are now together.
Wow.
They are now together. and working together with me. Now, the husband has a lot of more, like, the wife's here because she's worked with me. The husband's still here. He sees it. He apologizes, but he apologizes too much. And for those of you that are listening, if you're apologizing with no action, your apology means nothing.
Yeah.
So fast forward, they are working together with me. I actually had to explain to my female client who I've been working with, I'm like, you're good. You're good. I go, I don't want to take your money anymore. You're good. I need to really, we're going to shift. So we're shifting this next week into just working on the husband. And I said, then we can do a month check-in on both of you. But I got to get him to where she's at so that they can continue thriving.
Yeah, but what a beautiful gift for them to actually recognize that and for it to be open. Because more often than not, like you said, it's like shame and not being able to be open to share feelings, experiences, past trauma from childhood. When we go back to the root, there's always something there to be resolved, to be shifted, right? But to be able to see that and to allow for other people to come in and to help you to invest in yourself and in your relationship.
And Julieta, you hit the nail on the head. And listen, all your wonderful listeners out there, if you're struggling with whatever it is, whether it's finances, whether it's leadership, whether it's fill in the blank, hire a coach.
Yeah.
I always use this analogy. Now, vet them, make sure they're verified, make sure that you go to their page and go through all of their stuff, see what they are, see how real they are, and book a call with them. It's not going to hurt. But I want to say this is in the relationship piece, which I just thought about too, Julieta, is I use like pause the logistics and start with the why. Like, what values are driving your particular decision in this matter? So you have to ask is like, what values are driving this decision? And that takes really auditing yourself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Julieta, and being cognizant of that.
That's hard.
It is. Mm-hmm. And that's why most relationships then get into a rut, which you alluded to earlier, is like turning the spinning of the wheels. Here's a really beautiful thought that I use. I do like a relationship roundtable. So once a week, you sit down and you ask, hey, again, this goes to the vulnerability piece, which I talked about. Most men aren't going to do this. That's a bunch of you know what. But what are your biggest fears? What were your biggest fears this week, babe? What are your biggest hopes for this shift? We want this to change. And not only that, we all get hyped up on the New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
How are those going for you? We're halfway through the year. It's not about New Year's resolutions, y'all. It's about monthly goals.
Yes.
It's about setting relationship goals and personal goals each month and holding each other accountable through that journey.
Yeah. And working towards the same values that you have, that you're building your relationship, your home. And I think often with the transition to unschooling or any type of home education, this piece gets left behind a lot. It took me years to realize the importance of concentrating on my relationship and being able to kind of have those deep, deep conversations. I don't know if you remember, you posted it maybe about 2 weeks ago, something about a rule of like felt really practical for people to follow, like a 2-2-2.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot. I got to remember
Oh my God. Yeah. So,
because I post so much. Yeah, I do. And it's a beautiful thing because it really puts everything into perspective as like if you can just start, and that I want to tell your listeners, if you can just start simple, like it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be scary. So it's a 2-2-2 rule.
Okay.
And it's a way to kind of check in with each other. You start out every 2 weeks, maybe go on a date night. I talk about this exclusively with my clients is if you're not going on a date with your significant other at least twice a month, something's missing. Something's missing because the foundation. Oh, I got kids, Michael. I know. Give me your schedule in my coaching program. I show you where you can do it. Yes. Are there roadblocks? Sometimes there are. Does a babysitter cancel sometimes? Yes, I get that. But I can give you strategies and techniques on still how to connect. And then not only that, how are you connecting 20 minutes each day? Is it deep connection?
That's
Those two
so
questions. Yeah.
practical.
Yeah. Those two questions that I just alluded to before, what I just talked about, are great. And then choose, this is hard. Like your wife or your husband or your significant other, they are not your enemy. So choose kindness over conflict. It's the two C words, or it's not C words. Kindness has a K, Michael. I know your letters. But kindness over conflict. You know what I mean?
Kindness over conflict. Yes. What a beautiful
Yeah.
statement. But that is so practical. So far, so he shared about the round table, sit with your significant other and share what your hopes and fears are in order to be able to make a plan as you move forward together, because that will create so much ease, and go on a date twice a month. This is so practical. What else do you recommend for people as they start seeing that they want to really, really change their relationships?
Yeah. Well, I think you got to always start with yourself,
Yeah.
because that's what one of my clients did. She started with herself, and now both of them are working with me. And I got to kind of put her like, hey, you've done so much work, you're good. So let's just pause here. But if you're not spending time with emotional intimacy, which I talked about already, like that's where you really become vulnerable. Like men, you need to speak. If you're not doing well, you got to share that.
Yeah.
The question you have to ask yourself is, what are you worth? Do you believe you're worth more? If you're worth more, Julieta, invest in yourself. Otherwise, you're going to get to a point in your life where you've been told what to do, how to do it for so long. Hence why you pulled your kids out of the education system, which we talked about on my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, when are you going to make that decision to know there's something better?
Yeah.
And do you want to be treated that way? That's the biggest thing, and without having the tools, and some people say, well, I need this job. Well, then ask yourself, do you need the job? Do you like how you feel? Do you wake up when you put your feet on the ground excited and ready to start the day? Or do you have the Sunday blues and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to do this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we go back a little bit deeper into that, and how was your transition when you became a coach, health and then
Yeah,
relationships?
I didn't finish that. Yeah, so I hired this coach.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and everybody's like, well, how can you be a coach? Well, I'll tell you how you could be a coach. You lived it. You understood that you were the problem in a lot of it. I figured out what my problems were. I figured out that after I failed in all of these relationships, that I needed to hire. I had a therapist. I had a life coach. I had a personal trainer. I had all these coaches. And I worked on me, Julieta, for a year to find out, oh, yeah, I was the problem. I remember specifically being in a relationship, going to Easter service 3 years in this relationship, and that's the other thing. I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't have the confidence or the worth for myself to say, no, enough's enough. I couldn't walk away. I didn't know how to. So people are in these relationships too, and they don't know how to walk away. I was there. Mm-hmm. I can say I was part of that. So that's how it started. And then I just started working with clients, and then they started succeeding and being seen differently. And there's another story I want to share with you about. She was a female. She was a mom. She had 3 kids. She came to me. She was exhausted.
Yeah.
Similar to kind of what you've been talking about. Mm-hmm. Some people would label the term burnt out.
Yeah.
Her marriage was on the rocks. She was homeschooling 2 of her kids.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of really felt like she had lost herself, because she kept doing this rat wheel of a race with no break.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. She said, I don't know where I am. I don't know what end I'm in. I don't know where my responsibilities begin. It was something to that context. What we did, and I talked about this earlier on the pod, is, Julieta, we developed what I call boundary clarity.
Yes.
Where you really need to, wives out there, if you're doing this and you're stressed, your husband, maybe he's working all the time, but you need to have a sit down conversation is, what can I do? I am here. I know you're working. You got a job too, but I'm going to be honest. Stay at home moms, man, you like capes times 10. You got superhero capes times 10. And that's where you should be able to be in a safe place to share those things with your significant other and find out and put your heads together. Well, what can we do to offer you a break? Is it simply when they come home from work, you get to go get a massage, or you get to do something for you for an hour or 2 hours? Like, that's because you're at home doing all this stuff for the kids for so long. And over the other piece to that too, Julieta, was we worked on emotional ownership, which is a big thing, and then building time for joy without guilt. A lot of people feel guilty when they're not spending time with their kids.
Yes, that's a huge one, actually. That's a huge one.
Yeah, and I've worked with her on that. And then over, I would say, about 6 months, not only did her marriage get stabilized, I would call it. She started a small business, and I haven't checked on her in a while, but because it's been a while. And she rediscovered intimacy. Intimacy is a big piece
Yes.
of a relationship as well. But she then began even modeling joy for her kids, not just a structure. Because let's be honest, our kids don't really listen to us, but they're watching.
They're always watching. Yes, most definitely. That's such a beautiful story because I've lived through it as well as like being completely lost in the day of my work and unschooling and trying to hold space for the kiddos. But I know that I cannot hold space if I have not had a moment of joy. And hence the reason why I do most of my creative work in the morning, because that's the way I'm able to function. If I do not have that, I cannot.
We talked about that
Yeah,
on my
we
pod.
talked about
Yeah.
that because it is extremely important to find those boundaries and the clarity, which brings me back to, can you talk a little bit more about the mirror work that you were saying? Like, how can people use this in a practical,
Yeah. So if any of your listeners are interested in any of that, they can reach out to me. I'll give them a free PDF, and they can really work on that. I think that is an empowerment
yes,
perspective that will change perception immediately. I will tell you, and when we get that opportunity, I'll give all of your listeners my
yes,
credentials and stuff on how to get a hold of me. But that's the biggest thing. Our subconscious, I'm telling you, you can manifest any. I talk about manifestation in my relationship stuff, and I talk about law of attraction. What you say is who you become. If you can use your five senses to anything that you want, it'll happen. You just got to know how to ask. And I have been able to successfully share that and help my clients develop those strategies, and their relationships get better. I've had clients that their careers have morphed in. They got a next promotion from CEOs to engineers to superintendents that I've worked with, and moms and dads for that matter. And so I think the mirror work is a good starting place to develop a sense of self-worth, because let's be honest, if you're pouring from a cup that is always half empty,
half empty, yeah.
How are you the best version of yourself to anybody else?
Yes, the work begins with us because once we begin our own work and start really embodying what we're here for and bringing clarity and joy to our own experience as a human being before the mom persona, then that really passes out onto the rest of your household. And it really makes a huge, huge difference on how you go around through life. It is easier to decline invitations because we're often so crowded with things to do. So it is easier to have discernment over the things that serve you best.
Yeah, and the ability to say no to things.
Exactly.
Right? I have modules and exercises that I give some of my clients on the ability on how to say no. Like, you practice on how to say no.
Yes.
Like, literally, too many of us are, yep, I can do that. And then you're like, oh my gosh, please cancel. I hope it cancels. I hope it cancels. Right?
I mean,
Right?
yeah, we've all been there.
there.
Yes, please, let's not shy away from, there's no perfection here. We have all been there to where we commit to something or to someone too soon, too fast. And you're like, man, that wasn't what I needed. So that is exactly right. So as you continue to do your fantastic work, what's the easiest way for people to get a hold of you, and what can people do with you?
Great question. So a couple of things. I'm actually in the process. I don't think I even shared this with you, Julieta. I'm in the process of writing my book. It's going to be a self-help and self-guide book attached to my storyline.
Okay. I love that.
So I'm working on that. And man, I was supposed to have it done when was it, last January, but that didn't happen. But no, there's two things. I offer mastermind classes. In fact, I don't know when this is going to air. It's probably going to be too late by then, but I'm offering an incredible deal, $99 for 90 days. And you get a blueprint that is going to effectively change your life. It's like $1.33 a day. I don't know when I'll ever offer that again, but I do offer masterminds, one-on-one coaching. I'm in the process of developing a membership.
Okay.
I haven't released that yet to the public yet. And then it depends. And we tiered off based on what you need. And here's the thing. I'll just tell this to everybody. If you can do this stuff on your own, I'm not going to deny it. But how many of you do?
Yes. But not only how many do you do, but I feel like another person brings you, it's a sounding board. So like Michael said, when you decide to invest in yourself, and then you go out in the ocean of providers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you find the one you resonate with, you vet that person, and then I feel like that person is a sounding board for you to give you different perspective, to give you inspiration, and to bring you different pieces.
100%. And that's why often the whole New Year's resolutions stop.
Yes.
Because a lot of people are like, we just use the analogy real quick of like, I want to go to the gym.
Yes.
Okay, well, what's the plan?
Yes.
What's the how? What's the why? Like, you got to get that deep. If any of your listeners want to get a hold of me, and I'm offering that free PDF that we talked about as well.
Yes.
The mirror work. And I also got a free PDF on overthinking as well. I can offer those free to your listeners because that's a big component of what I do as well.
Yes.
And we have all been there, right? We go down the rabbit hole and it's like it keeps going. But one of my biggest socials is on Instagram. And that's just really simple, y'all. It is Coach_Hicks MB. I'm on every platform. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. If you just search my name on Facebook or LinkedIn, it's Michael Hicks, Hicks. There is a lot of Michael Hicks, but then look for Live to Thrive. That's LIV, the number 2, Thrive. And if you want to check out my website, which it's not updated, but yes, it's there, and I'm in the process of that. So don't yell at me.
My goodness, aren't we all? Because I feel the same. I can relate. That's all I'm saying. I can relate. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And if you like my podcast, it's called Framing New Heights Podcast, and you can listen to that everywhere. Your one and only Julieta was on, and she had an amazing story, and I was very appreciative that she was on.
Yeah, we had a great conversation, you guys. So before we go, so thank you so much for all of your wisdom. Do you have anything else that you would like for couples to know as they navigate different transitions? Because sometimes we know we need a transition, but we're so afraid to know what's coming. So for those people or couples, when truly the transition feels like you're going to go off the deep end, what do you say to them to encourage to do the deep work?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think, and I'm going to get biblical, okay? Because that's part of who I am and my coaching and my framework. I'm going to be 2 words, faith over fear, or 3 actually, faith over fear. Now, know this though, we've all been rock bottom. But the only way out from rock bottom is up. It doesn't stay dark forever. The sun always rises. If you can't see the end, watch your look and look at your first step. That's all you need to do is take your first step. Is it scary? Yes. And you don't know which direction to go. I get it. I think you need to, I think that's a good starting point. But I will tell you this and this is me personally speaking, and what I shift into my coaching is prayer, Julieta. Prayer for me, and again, whatever walk of life you're going through, prayer for me has been the most powerful, underutilized tool that I can give. If I'm struggling with something, I give it up to the Lord. If I'm struggling with if someone else has wronged me or did something, I give it up to the Lord. And it gives me a opportunity to let that weight off and know, now, are we getting quote unquote religious? I don't like using that term. I like to always tell my clients, it's just having a relationship. We talked about it on the entire podcast today. Yeah. And it's about having a relationship to know that there's a higher power.
There's a higher power that you are worth fighting for too, for sure. We're going to put all of Michael's links in the show notes. Experience the magic of being in his energy to support you and to see you move onto the next step of your beautiful, beautiful life. Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate your time. Please remember that your time is precious. I hope you're making it count. See you next time.